I think of things, and I'm sure a ton of people out there, voters everywhere, are going to ask about regulation and what regulation looks like and how are we going to make sure that this is safe and what are the steps that we're going to take.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So I think it would help to actually kind of give a timeline for what happens when the measure passes in November.
Okay.
So November 8th is election day. 2 weeks later, the governor would then ratify the measure, so it becomes law. In that moment, the natural medicines that I mentioned, again, DMT, ibogaine, mescaline, not including peyote, psilocybin and psilocin would become decriminalized across the state. And then the next step there is for the governor to appoint our 15-member advisory panel. That advisory panel needs to be appointed by the end of January 2023. And the purpose of that advisory panel is to make all of the recommendations for the regulated access program to DORA. Again, DORA being the Department of Regulatory Agencies. So we have the advisory panel, which is informing the state regulators on, what are the best practices here? How are we considering things like affordability and accessibility? What does the training look like specifically for a person who wants to get a license to become a natural medicine facilitator? What are those training requirements? What are the legal and business requirements for someone to apply for a license to open a healing center? So that's a 2-year process. I think it's important to distinguish that in terms of the regulated access program, we're only starting with psilocybin and psilocin. So by the end of September 2024 is when the state would need to start accepting applications for licenses for natural medicine facilitators and service centers that are offering psilocybin mushrooms as a part of their treatment program. And then it's June 1st, 2026 is when the state would have to decide whether or not to actually include and regulate DMT, ibogaine, and mescaline. And the reason for that is that we, starting only with psilocybin, first and foremost, psilocybin really has the most clinical evidence backing it right now, again, from universities like Johns Hopkins and NYU and others. Imperial College is one of those places. It has the most demonstrated efficacy or potential. And we also don't want to overwhelm a state agency with creating different rules around different substances. Again, because that mechanism of delivery or the administration or the dispensing of these medicines might look different. For example, ibogaine requires a lot more of a medical guidance behind it to administer it.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So we're starting low and slow with psilocybin, and then the state can expand to other medicines in 2026. But I think, for viewers, if the measure passes, we could see the state's first healing centers opening in January 2025.